Hey guys, so my name is Chase Moy. I am a licensed massage therapist in the state of Alabama. We are light years behind on a lot of our regulations and rules, but essentially, just to keep it simple on what my scope of practice is here with nutrition, according to the Alabama Board of Examiners for Dietetics and Nutritionists, um, in one section refers to the fact that no one outside from a licensed physician or a licensed nutritionist can give any advice whatsoever involving food or nutrition. But in another section, it claims that there are many exceptions to that rule. So, like most regulations in Alabama, I think we're a little confused. But to be safe, I like to basically just state what the research says. I'm not giving advice. I'm just telling my patients, my clients, exactly what current research says on subject matter. So, seeing as how I'm a massage therapist, I treat people in a setting in a chiropractic clinic where I'm doing a lot of active release technique, fascial distortion model, treating a lot of sports injuries. My patients are in a lot of pain. So, a common question I get asked is, Chase, what should I eat that could possibly cut down on the inflammation in my body? I'm hurting. I think that if I eat some better foods, my inflammation might get better. So, and inflammation is a trendy word right now. So, it's no surprise that a lot of people want to know what can they eat that would make their inflammation go away or get better. And that makes a lot of sense. So, for these people, there's a wealth of literature out there to talk about what could make that better. So to start out, in 2018, Zhu, Do, and Chu stated that inflammation is one of the first biological responses our immune system produces in response to injuries, which is what I see. Irritation, I see a lot of that too, and also infection. So there's that. In 2019, Redivari, Wang, Wu, and Li, they said that there are some foods that promote inflammation and some that reduce it. So it's important that people know that there are foods that can cause inflammation, and there are foods that can reduce it. I think that, to me, it makes more sense that instead of trying to eliminate stuff, because I think elimination is a lot harder than just adding stuff in. So let's look at eating things that could cut down on the inflammation instead of cutting back on the things that we may like a lot that are causing inflammation. I think, in essence, if we eat more of the good stuff, we're going to eat less of the bad stuff. So in one study, in 2017, Hagen et al. Wanted to find what dietary factors more than 80 youth, I think it was like 86 kids with an average age of 12.6 years, I believe, with newly diagnosed inflammatory bowel disease had in common. What were they eating that was the same? How were they eating that was the same? And what they found was, despite that their caloric intake was all adequate, the estimated nutrient and fruit and vegetable intakes were way below recommended levels. So what that shows there is that these kids who have a whole bunch of inflammation in their bodies causing this gut reaction are not eating enough fruits and not eating enough vegetables. That's very general, but it says a lot. Let's eat more fruits and vegetables. So Zhu, Do, and Chu, they said a lot in their study here, but a couple important things they said are fruits, vegetables, and legumes. They contain high levels of these chemicals called phytochemicals that plants contain, and they show anti-inflammatory effects. So they did a paper that was supposed to summarize investigations and findings looking at animal studies and the anti-inflammatory effects of these fruits, vegetables, and legumes. What they found was that they did show some fruits and vegetables showed higher anti-inflammatory activity than other compounds, but they also showed that because these were in animals, perhaps we need to do some studies in humans. So here's another study saying, hey, let's eat more fruits, vegetables, and legumes. Like I said, this is in animals, but a lot of that stuff can be translated to humans. We need to keep that in mind. Another one by people we mentioned a minute ago in 2019, Redivari, Wang, Wu, and Lee. They were looking at chronic intestinal inflammation for a bunch of different diseases, including inflammatory bowel disease, colon cancer, obesity, cardiovascular diseases, and type 2 diabetes. So many people in our world, in the Western world, are having issues with these at this point in time. So because we know that plant-based food is effective against chronic disease, because of changes in the gut microbiome, all that bacteria in your stomach, we can look at anti-inflammatory staple food crops. Okay, so a big one is potatoes. So that's what Redivari, Wang, Wu, and Lee found, where that potatoes have big anti-inflammatory effects, such as resistant starch and fiber. So maybe we need a lot more potatoes, which works for me. I love potatoes. They're tasty. You can put a little bit of salt, a little bit of butter on them. Shazam. Good stuff. In another meta-analysis, so a meta-analysis is a review of a whole bunch of studies. Dell et al. Looked at plant food supplements, basically, to see if they were effective as anti-inflammatories in the human body. And basically all they found was, hey, we need to do a lot more research on this stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there, but nothing is super conclusive. And they look specifically at things like green tea and olive oil. So it's suggestive that maybe they have some anti-inflammatory properties, but a whole bunch more research needs to be done. Here's another interesting one. There's a lot of thought out there that maybe we need to eat raw fruits and vegetables because if we cook them, it kills all the good stuff in there. Well, here's something interesting. In 2014, Gunawardena and colleagues, they did a study looking at some plant foods that are known to have anti-inflammatory effects. What they did was they cooked them, and then they tested them to see if the anti-inflammatory compounds were still active. And what they found were in several different, I think it's about 10 different foods, including lime zest, English breakfast tea, honey brown mushroom, button mushroom, oyster mushroom, cinnamon, cloves, onion, oregano, and red sweet potatoes. They all survived, all the good stuff in there, the anti-inflammatory stuff survived the cooking process, which is super beneficial. So that's a lot of good stuff we need to look at eating more of if we're going to try to cut down on inflammation in our body. They also mentioned, Gunawardena and colleagues also mentioned that, knowing these things about these foods could lead to the development of a lot of good anti-inflammatory drugs that the FDA could possibly approve and maybe become more available to the public, to the general population, which is super important. So, in summary, I think that we can look at all this plethora of literature out there and kind of conclude that it's a safe bet we need to eat more fruits and vegetables if we want to cut down on inflammation in our body. Sure, we can eat them raw, we can cook them, we probably don't need to fry them, let's just be honest. So, if you feel like you're just super inflamed, you're getting injured a lot, your body hurts, you're achy, and you just feel like you want to cut down on inflammation, instead of trying to cut out things, yeah, it might be a good idea to cut out some crap that you're eating, but instead of cutting out all the bad things, let's add in some good stuff. Let's eat more fruits, let's eat more vegetables, let's drink some more water. I think the research is very clear on all this, so I hope this helped a lot, and get to eating.